Alright, today's lesson is on the area of inscribed and composite figures. Alright, so our composite figures are figures that have the whole thing shaded in, and we have different shapes. And so we're going to be finding the area of those, the whole shaded area. So for composite figures, we're going to find the area of each of our figures separately. And then we're going to go and add the areas together. Our next one is our inscribed figures. Inscribed figures, you're going to notice, have a shaded portion as well as a non-shaded portion. Just like our composite figures, we're going to be finding the shaded portion, but in this case we're going to go ahead and have to find each figure separately, and then we're going to go ahead and be subtracting our areas. By subtracting our areas, we're going to go ahead and be able to find the shaded portion. Okay. Alright, so our steps we're going to go ahead and follow is we're going to name our shapes, we're going to give our formulas, we're going to substitute in the values, and then we're going to solve, and then we're going to make sure we add our units on. Then we're either going to add or subtract what we need to do. Okay? So our first example here, you can see that we have a rectangle. We have an 8 by 9 rectangle, and then we also have a half circle here and a half circle here. Together they're going to make a full circle. What I can tell you about that full circle is that it's going to have an 8-yard diameter, which means it's going to have a 4-yard radius, and that should allow me to get my area. So my first shape is rectangle, so I'm going to list it. Okay. My formula for my rectangle is going to be area is going to equal either length times width or base times height, either one. I'm going to go ahead and substitute in my values. So my area is going to equal, we'll say 9 by 8, which means it's going to equal 72 yards squared. Now I'm going to go ahead and find my circle area. My equation or formula for my circle is area is equal to pi r squared, or radius squared. So its area is going to equal 3.14 times my radius. Like I said, I'm going to use 8 for the diameter. 4 is half of the diameter, so 4 is my radius, so times 4 squared. Go ahead and plug that in the calculator, and I get an answer of 50.24 yards. And one thing I can do to make sure I check this is, does this make sense? Notice how these numbers are pretty close to each other, and that our circle is probably a little bit less than our rectangle, and so the numbers do look good. So I'm going to go ahead and then do my circle plus my rectangle. My circle was 50.24. My rectangle was 72. Add those together and I get an answer of 122.24 yards squared. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and try our inscribed figure now. I'm going to follow the same steps. The two steps I notice I have is I have a square. So let's go ahead and do that first. Alright, my square looks like it's going to be 5 yards by 5 yards. So again, area is going to be length times width. There's my formula. Let's plug it in. And so my area for this one is 25 yards squared. The next shape I have is a circle in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do again the formula for my circle, which is area is equal to pi r squared. So area is going to equal 3.14. And my radius for this one, because 5 would be my diameter here, the radius is going to be half of that, which is 2.5. We're going to square that. Plug that into the calculator, and I get an answer of 19.625 yards squared. Okay. And because I'm doing an inscribed figure this time, I have the shaded portion, the large portion, which is my square. And I'm going to subtract the circle from it. I'm going to subtract the part that is unshaded, and that's going to get these little edges are going to be left what is actually shaded. So my square was 25. My circle is 19.625. And I do get an answer of 5.375 yards squared. Alright, so now you have 3 items to try yourself. So go ahead and make sure you follow the steps by writing the name of the shape, the formula, and then go ahead and plug your numbers in, and then either add or subtract. And then let's go ahead and check to see how you did. Alright, so the first one you should have noticed that it is a composite figure, so you're going to be adding your circle, or I'm sorry, your square, and then two of the sides here make up a circle, and so we have two sets of those, so we're going to have two circles added to it. So our final answer is 125.93 centimeters squared. Our second one, we have a circle, and it is a inscribed figure, so we're going to be subtracting out our triangle area here. So you find your circle for 490.625, subtract 150 for the triangle, and you get an answer of 340.625 centimeters squared. Right, and the last one is a composite figure. You're going to be adding the two shapes together. The first shape is a rectangle, 10 by 14. Second shape is a circle, and it is, you can use pi r squared. The circle would be 176.625 millimeters squared, would be your area. One thing you do need to notice though too is it is a half circle. So when I go ahead and add that area to it, I'm going to make sure I do half of my circle. You can see here I almost wrote down the full circle and then fixed it to write my half circle. Add those together and you should get 228.3 millimeters squared.